I own 3 motorcycles, a Triumph Scrambler 1200 XE, a Moto Guzzi V7 Sport, and the Himalayan 450. Of all those bikes, this is the one that I depend on. Ladybug and I own a car, but really it's mostly hers. Since we bought it last summer, I think I've driven it maybe a dozen times, maybe 2 dozen. The Himalayan is what I would consider my primary vehicle. This is basically what I consider my car. And after 7,000 miles of riding it, I've learned a thing or two about the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450.
It's a blast to ride, whether you're on freeway or twisty little roads like this or on dirt. It's also a great city bike, believe it or not, especially when you have it all geared up with a bunch of bags that you can go do grocery shopping or run errands or whatever you need to do. It totally works.
In this video, I'll go over everything I've learned about this bike over the past 7,000 miles. I'll go over the mods and some of the knickknacks I've added to it. I'll go over its 6,000 mile service and how much that cost. And then, in the end, I'll answer the ultimate question. If this bike were raptured off the planet tomorrow, would I go out and buy another one? I've done a lot of things on my Himalayan 450, and I've had a lot of great experiences.
I've taken it on 1,000-mile adventures to California. I've taken it grocery shopping. I've taken it to medical appointments, to Home Depot, all kinds of shit. I've ridden dirt, freeways. I've ridden in the most ungodly of rain. I rode it over a mountain pass where the fog was so thick you could cut it with a fork. This thing just did everything. After 7,000 miles of riding this bike, it just doesn't get old.
Along the way, I've learned a thing or two about the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. And if you're thinking about buying one of these bikes, here's a thing or two you should know. The side stand on this bike is no joke. It's tilty. It's very side heavy because the side stand itself is too short or just not designed correctly. Apparently, Royal Enfield has fixed this in later versions of the bike, the 2026, which I saw today, and it is a noticeable difference. But for now, if you're buying a 2025 or whatever, this is what you're stuck with. And it's really not that bad. You get used to it, but it's a thing you should know about. And if you're a smaller rider or not very strong, this can be challenging. The Himalayan has a really nice big gas tank. It's 17 liters. It'll take you probably 200 miles, maybe even more. The components, well, they're just okay. I don't really dig on these foot levers. They're a little flimsy. The foot pegs are okay. I think Royal Enfield did a decent job with the hand controls. They feel pretty decent quality. I really dig that red. It's a bit tall, especially with the rally seat, but as you can see, I could pretty much flat foot it just fine. I'm 5'10", got a 30-inch inseam. Comfy, easy. I don't feel intimidated by it. I haven't dropped this bike yet, but I can tell you, just from doing this, it's pretty top heavy. So, I'm not 100% looking forward to picking it up the first time I drop it, but I know I'm gonna drop it, and I've picked up bikes that are much heavier than this, so I'm not too worried about it. I really like the screen on this bike. The Tripper dash stuff, the integrated navigation, you know, it's nice, but I could live without it. I barely ever use it, but when I do, it's pretty cool. One other thing that's important to note about riding a Himalayan 450, you can't be afraid to rev the tits off this bike. That's when this bike gets fun. That's when this bike's in its element. You get it up past 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 RPM, and this thing just kind of sings. It doesn't have a whole lot on the lower end, but once you get up past 5,000 or so, thing takes off. Kinda. I mean, it's still a single cylinder 450, so, you know, don't expect too much, but definitely rev the tits off of it. It's fun. That's what you paid for. You paid for the engine, use it.
The bike feels a little gutless at low RPMs, but once you rev it out, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Maybe too much fun. I'm not the best dirt rider that's ever existed. The other thing you should know about the Himalayan is that after you ride it and go through the break-in period, everything kind of loosens up in a good way. When I first started riding this bike after I bought it, I was thinking, I don't know, things just seem a little stiff and wooden, and I don't know, I couldn't really put my finger on it. But after a while, when you're riding it, it just kind of breaks in and loosens up and just becomes buttery smooth. I think you rev it out like it's meant to be. Oh, yeah! Oh, it's not going to rip your arms out of your sockets or anything, but it's not boring. If you stick with this bike through its break-in period and all that and get it properly broken in and settled, it'll reward you. It'll reward you. You'll be happy that you stuck with it.
It hasn't been all angels and lollipops with this motorcycle. In 7,000 miles, the Himalayan has seen the inside of a service bay a few times.
Some of the problems that I've had with the Himalayan 450 include the pull to the right issue, which is well documented on this channel. It's no longer really an issue, and you know, maybe it was overblown in the first place, I don't know. It's just something that bothered me. Anyway, if you have a pull to the right issue on your new Himalayan 450, check out this video up in the card, and this will tell you all about it and how to get it resolved. No big deal. Not long after I bought the bike, it was back in the shop to fix a buzzy headlight. I get this thing up to about 4,000 or 5,000 RPMs, and the headlight would just make this god-awful buzz noise. It drove me absolutely batshit. Anyway, that was replaced under warranty, and everything's been fine since. As I mentioned, the ambient temperature sensor is just garbage, and it's been replaced, and it's still kind of garbagey. Right now it says it's 78 degrees. It is, not 78 degrees. I'm wearing a sweatshirt and a riding shirt, and I'm still a little chilly. It's probably in the 60s. I don't know. When I had the bike serviced for its 6,000 mile service, I had the ambient temperature sensor moved, and I paid $150 to do that. And it didn't solve the problem, because I think the ambient temperature sensor itself was faulty. Now that I have a new one, it's a little bit more accurate, and I'm just trying to find the proper place to stow it on the bike somewhere that's out of the heat. Good luck to me. I've had two issues where the bike has thrown a check engine light that stayed on that I had to get rectified at the shop. The first issue was a couple of months ago, and I think it had something to do with voltage. Not really sure. Nothing was done to the bike except that it was reset, and it hasn't come back since. And then the other day, I was out trying to film this video here, and I was down in a dirt patch, and I turned the bike on, and I got some sort of rider mode error, and then I got a check engine light that stayed on. And I was a little frustrated, if I'm being honest. Anyway, took it back to the shop. They cleared it out and told me that it was the temperature sensor, not the ambient temperature, but the engine temperature sensor that was throwing a warning, and it's probably just that the temperature sensor itself is shit. Anyway, they took it apart and put some grease on it, put it back on, and if it happens again, I'll just get a new temperature sensor. No big deal. It's just frustrating. Two other things that I've noticed is, for some reason, the chain on this bike has gotten decently rusty, even though I take care of it and lube it and all that stuff and clean it. None of my other bikes do this, but this one did. I don't know. I need to give it a good scrub, but it's kind of gross. And it's not doing it so much now. It does it more, I guess, when it's humid or something, but the front brake, when you come to a stop, is so loud, like chattery and squeaky, it's embarrassing. When you pull up to a stoplight and you hit the front brake and it just makes this god-awful grindy squeak noise, people look at you like, what are you riding? I don't know, it's a Royal Enfield Himalayan 450. 5 stars.
Every bike I've ever owned has had one problem or another, so I'm not calling out Royal Enfield in general or the Himalayan specifically. I'm just telling you what I've experienced with this bike. In case you're wondering about service costs, I just had my 6,000 mile service done about 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that. The price tag on that job was $768. Part of that was because I paid an hour in shop time to have my ambient temperature sensor moved because it was inaccurate. Didn't really end up fixing it. Ended up having to get a replacement, and I don't know if it's better or not. I don't know. Anyway, you're looking at about $600. At least that's what I paid. That included a valve clearance adjustment. It needed 2 shims because the valves were out. My goal with the Himalayan 450 is to turn it into the ultimate moto camping bike. At the same time, I want to make sure it maintains its utility for doing around town stuff and all weather stuff, so I don't have to take out my other bikes when the weather is miserable. Basically, this is my all-arounder. And to that end, here are a few things that I've done to it. You all have seen the Lone Rider bags I've been rocking for quite a bit of time now. These things are pretty fantastic, and yeah, I can carry pretty much everything, including the kitchen sink, which I've done. These Cyclops auxiliary lights are something special. These are the Aries, and they plug into something I have on the bike called the Easy Can Pure, which I'll talk about at a later date. And these things are phenomenal. They're made by a company up in Washington State, run by some really good people. And Cyclops sent me these out to put on the bike to talk about, and I have nothing but good things to say about them. The Viridian Cruise system on a bike like this is pretty much a must, and Viridian Cruise really knocked it out of the park when they built this thing. If you're interested in the Viridian Cruise, there's a link in the description of this video where you can get a discount and I get a little kickback. And I'm not here to tell you that this thing is awesome just because I get a kickback. It really is an essential piece of equipment for me, especially for touring. The WRS windscreen is something that I'm sort of on the fence about. I'm not really sure it's staying. It's a little loud, but it does its job. So I don't know. I have an extension for it that seems to help, and definitely wearing earplugs helps. So I don't know. Next time I go on a long distance tour, I'm going to keep it on and see how it works. But for right now, I'm sort of on the fence. The rally seat is sort of an interesting proposition. It's not as comfortable as the stock seat, but it definitely looks better, and for off-roading, it makes a difference because it's a little thinner, it's a little taller, and it just kind of works in that circumstance. Would I want to tour across the country on it? Probably not. These are the double take mirrors, and they're fantastic. One of the cool things about the double takes is that you can tilt them up when you're standing on the bike so you can see what's behind you while you're riding. It makes it really easy to do that and then put them back into position. I really love these things. These are my Koso heated grips, another sort of essential for me, especially when riding in the winter and the cold, wet rain. I really like these Kosos. They are kind of phenomenal, and they have a nice button to turn them on right here, and the button turns color when they're on so you can tell what temperature it's at. And they weren't very expensive. I got those at Sabatino Moto and they installed them within 45 minutes. My bags are on the stock Royal Enfield pannier racks. There's really not a whole lot to talk about here. They work, they're tough, and they weren't very expensive at all. This is my Chiggy Apple CarPlay system type thing, and I've talked about it a million times, so I won't bore you with more information about this thing, but as far as these devices go, Chiggy makes the best one, by far. Lastly, I had some new sneakers put on the motorcycle a couple of days ago. These are the Shinko 804 805s, and they're phenomenal. The first introduction to these tires that I had was that they came on the Scrambler 1200 XE that I just bought. And at first, when I rode them, I was like, no, I hate these things, but they grew on me and I actually really liked them. And they're cheap as balls. And on riding over here, I was doing a little test to see what the road noise was like at 70, 80 miles an hour. And I heard nothing, absolutely nothing. These things are dead silent, at least for me, at least on this bike. Same on my Scrambler 1200, now that I think about it. Great tires.
So the question becomes, if this bike were raptured off the earth tomorrow, or, totaled in an accident or stolen or something like that, would I run out and buy another one? Well, this bike has a lot going for it. It's just, in general, a super nice little bike. It's fun to ride. It's pleasant. It's got this, serene toughness to it. It's really hard for me to put my finger on it, but it's the bike that I take out when I want to just chill and relax, and it does a really good job of doing that. Part of that is because the engine is just so nice on this bike. It's just calm. It's there when you need it, but for the most part, it's calm. It's one of those rare bikes that's really fun to ride at 20 20 miles an hour. Because it's so buttery smooth, there's no jerkiness on the throttle on the low end. You know, I'm just putzing around the island doing 26 miles an hour in third, or drop it down to second. Go about 20 miles an hour and look at the bird up in the nest in the field and those, oh my god, those thunderstorm clouds coming over the mountains. Okay, but you know what I'm saying? It's like you twist the throttle, it doesn't jerk you back. It's just there. It's nice and smooth. It's a happy bike. It's like Bob Ross's motorcycles. A happy little bike on the landscape. That's how I feel about this bike. The ergos are nice and comfortable for all-day riding. You know, except for a couple little problems over 7,000 miles. It's been dependable. It hasn't broken down on me or anything like that. And I like the way it looks. I like the way it rides. No, it's not the most powerful bike in the world, but you don't buy this bike for power. You buy it for the riding experience. And you get a lot for your money when it comes to the riding experience with this bike. Now, would I buy it again? You have to look at the competition. When I bought this bike almost a year ago, there wasn't as much of a variety of bikes available in this sort of class, this 450cc adventure-ish bike that doesn't cost a fortune. Now, you've got like the Vettori 450 from Motomarini, which I've ridden and is an excellent bike. You've got the new KLE 500, which is actually a 452 or something like that I hear decent things about, but I would assume that it is a pretty good competitor to a bike like this. You've got the Ibex 450, which is basically the same as the Motomarini Vettori 450. And, you know, as much as we may have an aversion to Chinese-made motorcycles, the Motomarini was pretty damn sweet. And I would imagine, from everything I've heard, that the Ibex 450 is a pretty damn good bike for the cost, for the price. And so, would that be something I would consider instead of this? Maybe. Another bike I would consider, instead of buying this again, might be even something like the CRF Rally from Honda. I've watched a few videos of guys just really having a lot of fun on those bikes. They can go on the freeway even though they only go about 10 miles an hour. But you can take them on the freeway and they're excellent in the dirt, in the mountains, and, you know, as far as a moto camping bike, it could be perfect, except for the suspension, which I hear is garbage. So if you're loaded up with a whole bunch of camping gear, you might be sitting on the ground, but who knows? Anyway, my point is there are a lot more options now, I think, than there were a year ago when I bought this bike. So I might take a harder look at the landscape before I plunk down my money on the Himalayan 450. But again, when I look at the competition, I say to myself, do those bikes have that same charm and character and soul that this Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 does? Do they offer that sort of same sensory overload that a bike like this offers? I'm not saying that the Himalayan has all of the character in the world and all of the soul, but it's certainly not lacking. And I know that a bike like a KLE 500 might actually be lacking in the character and soul department. That might not be important to you, it's important to me. So that's a big deciding factor in buying a motorcycle. It would be a huge deciding factor in me repurchasing the Himalayan as opposed to going with a different bike. In the end, I'd have to decide whether I really love the Royal Enfield Himalayan 450 or if I just particularly love my Royal Enfield Himalayan 450, because mine has all the doodads on it that I want, or at least it's getting there. We have a history together of 7,000 miles riding through some pretty crazy stuff. And, you know, this is my first Royal Enfield, and I'm kind of attached to it. If it were gone tomorrow, I would definitely consider buying another one. But I would also consider buying a Bear 650. You see, the Himalayan now that I have, the Scrambler 1200, is slightly redundant. I can do pretty much anything on the 1200 that I can do on this bike. Now, maybe not as confidently. I'm not sure I would ride gravel and dirt and such with as much confidence as I do on a lighter 450 like this, but I could do it. But Bear 650 would be cool too. I guess my point is, normally, if one of my bikes were vaporized, I wouldn't buy it again because I'd be like, I've already had it. Let's try something completely different. But I like this bike so much that I would definitely consider dropping the insurance money on a brand new one and sort of rekindling that bond. If you're interested in a Himalayan 450, I really encourage you to go take one for a ride. And don't judge it immediately on its maybe perceived stiffness out of the box. You gotta give it time. Get on it, see if it fits, see if you like the general ethos, then plunk down the money, buy it, take it home, and live with it for a few thousand miles. I can almost guarantee you'll think it's worth it in the end. After 7,000 miles, I can say with some authority that the Himalayan 450 is a dependable, fantastic, comfortable, fun, great bike. If you're thinking about getting one, I think you're making the right choice. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Check out this video over here. I haven't watched it yet, but I hear it's pretty good.